It's Wednesday afternoon in Sydney, and that means it's time for Wednesday Beers with Marc and Stuart. I'm Stuart Roberts.
And I'm Marc.
And there may be the biggest financial crisis since 1929 going on, but we are still Australia's leading provider of issuer-sponsored equity research focused on small and mid-cap companies publicly traded on the Australian Securities Exchange.
Marc, it's a mouthful still. Are you working from home, by the way?
I am. That's my library behind me. I'm a pretty heavy reader, as you know, and I can't help myself. Kindle's been around for years, but I still like the old-fashioned book on paper with, inside a cardboard cover. Right. And yeah, that's all behind me.
I'm not interested in the books. I'm looking at that poster in the back there, Bernie Sanders. I thought you were a Trump supporter. What's happening?
Please do not tell my fellow members of the religious right that I secretly harbor a desire to vote for Bernie Sanders.
Too late. Too late.
And what exactly is that poster you've got in your study there?
Which poster? No, that's my lifelong idol.
Right.
When she runs, it's amazing.
So,
but look, I just hope our professional sort of atmosphere, attitude isn't impacted in any way by us working from home. We look professional, right?
Look, on that point, I think the world is going to wake up coming out of this crisis having had a big productivity boost. When we finally work out how to use those mobility tools, which the information revolution has given us in the last 5 years. Like, I hear everyone talking about Zoom. I don't know if Zoom is even a public company, but if it is, it's going to kill it coming out of this crisis. We may need to have to go back to our offices ever again. This could be a revolution.
I think you're right, Stu. Looking at Cisco, they own WebEx, and they've seen a surge in new users. So I think in general, technology is getting a huge boost from COVID-19. So digital transformation is basically sort of expedited by this whole thing. People working from home. So I think for a lot of technology companies, this is really good news. Actually, it sounds a bit macabre to use a fancy word here, but I think it's really driving digital transformation right now.
Right. Look, I know we're in the middle of a crisis, but they say that a crisis equals opportunity. Not only is it just a virus, which means we can get over it with just some decent public health measures, but the governments are stepping in and throwing money at this thing. And as I've joked before, $1 trillion here and $1 trillion there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money. So Absolutely. It feels to me like the biggest buying opportunity since about 1982 in terms of
selective buying, I'd say, because I agree with you. There's so much money. The amount of money being thrown at this problem is so insane in terms of size and scope. I'm absolutely convinced we'll see a V-shaped recovery in the economy, maybe in starting in the end of Q2. So let's say the June-July timeframe, when for most countries and geographies this problem will have passed the peak. But the amount of money being thrown at this is so much that we'll see a V-shaped recovery, except for certain sectors like anything travel related. I think it will be at least a year before people are happy to jump on a plane together with 500 other people to fly to Fiji or whatever. So that will, I expect to see a lot more people sort of staying closer to home on holidays. So I think for travel and airlines, it will take a lot longer. But for a lot of other sectors, actually, this is the amount of money being thrown at it. It's so huge. We'll definitely see V-shaped recovery, in my opinion.
Yes. Now, two other things you and I were talking about before. One is Australia. We're so far away from the rest of the world that it takes a long time before the world's troubles get to our shores. So I think we'll roar out of this faster because we've been less impacted. Australia, as you know, is a 25 million person country, and we've only had about 3,000 infections, and thankfully, only at this date, only 18 deaths. Probably more, unfortunately, but we have come through this in virtually unscathed, I think.
Oh, absolutely. The stories I'm hearing from friends and family back in the Netherlands, that it's a completely different world to what we're experiencing here. Right. The impact is much bigger. Everyone knows people that are infected or have died, and it's completely different here, right? I don't know anyone in Australia that has been infected, let alone someone who died from it. So it's a very different world. So I think in that sense, we're lucky to be living on an island because you can basically shut everything off, all the entrances, and not right now with the lockdown on the airports, and people need to go into quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel somewhere. So that's the benefit of being on an island. It's very different in Europe. So I think we'll see, for the domestic industries in Australia, we'll see a sharp recovery. And actually, one of the sectors that could be sort of lagging in recovery could be the commercial real estate companies, right?
Absolutely, yeah. People will discover they don't need to go to the office as much. So I'm expecting a lot of office providers to get shaken up in this current climate. But let me tell you who I think is really going to roar out of this in magnificent shape, and that's the resources sector. You're now seeing, as China has got through their new infections, they're restarting their factories. If there's one thing China's industrial engine needs, it's resources from Australia. So I'd look heavily at the coal companies right now. I'd look at gold, obviously, because gold is held its own through this crisis, and then all the other commodities. We're obviously big bulls on lithium, as you know. So they'll do quite well in this crisis as well. Right. Which brings me to a point I've been telling everyone. One of the best places to find out what's going on is to come to Pitt Street Research, in particular our new product, Stocks Down Under. Talk to us, Mark, about some of the content you've been seeing in Stocks Down Under that's got you thinking at the moment.
Well, Seven West Media, for instance, has been impacted for years now into the share price. It's come down to, what was it, 7 cents or 5 cents the other day?
Yeah, virtually NTA, yeah.
Yeah, so they've been hit hard by the shift to online, but they're starting to sort of recover from that with their own sort of new streaming platforms, their own content.
And they're creating their own content where the big money is, as Netflix has taught us.
Yeah, but it's still a long way to go. But at the current valuation, and potentially with some consolidation in the industry at these sort of depressed levels, Seven West Media seems quite interesting actually at the current valuations. At least there's something good has come out of all this misery. So there's now a face mask available in the US that's very effective at saving millions of lives probably. So here it is. You shouldn't laugh too hard, Stu, because you're a big Trump supporter, right? Yeah,
look, I have to admit I'm a fan of the 45th president, but I don't mind a good joke about the president. Now here's one of my favorites. A lot of people like to call Trump a Hitler. And I dispute that very strongly. The reason Trump couldn't be a Hitler is there's no way that Trump could write a book on his own.
All right, so what are you drinking there?
So Sleeping Giant comes from a spunky little brewery near Fremantle in Western Australia called the Gage Roads Brewery. Now, I'm a big fan of these folks. They've been around since about 2005-06. They've now grown to have nationwide distribution from some of the best drinking you'll have right around the country. The stock typically trades at a PE in single digits, which I don't think.
I heard, Stu, there's no research out on this company.
Yeah, well, they really need research from us because the products are good, and the expansion that these guys are going through. This company today is where Bogues was prior to it being acquired by the Filipinos 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So yeah, take a look at this one.
All right. Well. It's I tasted it at your wedding, by the way. We haven't talked about that. You got married on Saturday.
I did. So as you know, we're both pretty optimistic about the world economy, the market, and our own business. And the ultimate expression of optimism from me was my fiance Fifi and I were married on Saturday. Australian government regulation said no more than 5 people could be in the room, of which you were one. This is the third day of our married life. So needless to say, I'm kind of enjoying working from home with my new wife right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Was this the reason that we weren't on Friday? You were doing other stuff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, researching, for instance, Michael Hill Jewelers, where we bought this thing. This is my wedding ring.
Well, let's leave it at that. I mean, my kids have to go back online to study, so the bandwidth will be a lot less in a couple of minutes. So we have to sign off. But all right. Yeah, to all the investors out there, stay safe, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
And be positive. We'll be out of this in no time at all. See you soon.
Cheers.